before Jaya begins, we just wanted to let you know a little bit what to expect of this class series. So many of you know, many of you or most of you probably are part of an online community. And you know that Jaya very often on Wednesdays does some class or the other for us, a little more informally perhaps. And this time he came up with the topic of service. And we were trying to find something that perhaps all three of us can do together. And he recommended service. And I think everybody here is part of Ananda in some way or the other. And you will probably hear us talking about service a lot, about service this, service that, how important it is to serve, how we should be serving at all times if possible, and so on and so forth. So the question comes like, what is actually to be serving at all times? What does it mean, serving even? Like, is our understanding of service correct? Many times we think that, oh, I cannot serve because I live far away from a center, or oh yeah, I can only serve online right now with, editing some video here or doing this there. So we thought that why don't we take this subject of service and see how we can become channels of the light, of the Guru's light, of God's light in every aspect of our life. So today is an introductory session, which is more general about service. And then we are going to go the weeks to follow. We so far put 4 weeks or maybe 5 with a Q&A. We are going to go into more specifics. What does it mean to serve in the workplace? What does it mean to serve with friends, with family? What does it mean to serve, in our spiritual practices? But also in a way that is not just like we make it like something separate, in the sense that sometimes we think that in order to serve, I need to start becoming a little more solemn, or whatever I do has to be, ideally we'll always have a straight spine, but like, okay, my time is to serve now, so I'm gonna be like this, and you know what I mean. That so how to make it a natural flow in our lives, basically. So that's why we thought like we will have these different subjects, so we can go a little more specifically. And also, Jaya will do most of the theory, thankfully. And then Shamini and myself will add a little bit to that theory, if we have to. And then we will give practices that perhaps all of us can do throughout the week in order to imbibe these teachings more. We'll also try to have a little worksheet or a little handout, which is with each class, that we can offer to everybody in order to, again, remember what we learned, try to practice, perhaps gauge our own progress throughout the week. Anything you'd like to add?
No, just thank you so much, Jayaji, for being back with us. We've been waiting to have you back.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So,
yes, I think. Is it my turn now?
It's your turn. Please go ahead.
Anyway, thank you, Shamini, and thank you, Bara. And it is a joy. We do every Monday, we do a class on Monday, but those are kind of one by one. But each time I jump from one topic to the next, from 1 week to the next. But on Wednesdays, we try to go into some of the individual subjects a little bit more deeply, so that we can explore. And service is one of those. Seva is such an important topic, and we thought, well, that we could take, certainly now the month of it's late May now, we can take the month of June to explore this topic, and importantly, make it practical. Because sometimes when people come onto this path of Kriya Yoga, their emphasis, of course, is on Kriya, the techniques, that things, they tend to stand out. When we read the autobiography of a yogi, it jumps out at us, the guru-disciple relationship and the propagation of Kriya and what it'll do for us in our spiritual path. But it needs not, we need to remember that there is this other aspect as well. For whatever we gain inwardly through our meditation practices, through our Kriya practices, through the blessings of the Guru, there's this other element also of taking it out and putting it into action, because this is where you could say they say the rubber meets the road, is putting our spiritual activity into practical application. And the way that is typically and most efficiently done is embodied by this word of Seva, service. And so taking the what we inward into the outward. Interestingly, Swami Kriyananda, our founder of Ananda Sangha, when he became a disciple, met Paramahansa Yogananda, became his disciple, Master told him, he says, your path is service and meditation combination. Now, he emphasized those two, service and meditation together. And it's something that we, as spiritual aspirants, need to think, what does that mean? Now, I'm not going to go into that today because we have classes ahead, and that is this, how service applies to the spiritual path and how it applies to our techniques. We're going to address that. But the thought of it, the concept of that blend, of that balance of inner and outer, is a theme that will run through every week that we speak of. How do we bring these two into balance so that we live a balanced life? And that's what we're aiming for. And that service is part of our spiritual path. And so how do we do that is always the question, because now Bara was mentioning that, well, we have, you could say we have the theory, but really theory is one thing. It goes sometimes in one ear and out the other, but yet theory must be converted into action. And how do we do that? And that's the focus of this class. And he's mentioned some of the ways that we're going to do that. But I would like to begin today with a reading from Swami Kriyananda from his book, Affirmations for Self-Healing. And he gives a topic every week that we could consider to focus upon week by week. And one of those weeks he has addressed with the topic of service. And I want to read what he says here. He says, service is ennobling. It is a way of offering our human littleness into the great reality that is God. Service should not be given with the thought that one is serving people merely. It should be given with an inward consciousness to the Lord, who resides in all creatures. When we serve others in this spirit, we find our own spirits becoming freed from egotism. Peace then fills us in the realization that there isn't anyone with whom we need compete. What joy to think that we are belonging to God. Now, I'm going to read one of those sentences over again because it encapsulates, I think, what we want to speak about in this series. When we serve others in this spirit, we find our own spirits becoming freed from egotism. And this, in essence, is what the spiritual path, that conscious application of ourselves toward treading toward a goal in life, that goal being ultimately attaining full liberation of the soul, but that state of enlightenment, that state of expanded consciousness that we're seeking, and that is promised to us through the teachings of all of the great ones, and especially when we read the autobiography of a yogi, sets that goal for us and makes it something seemingly attainable through the practice of these teachings of the gurus that we engage in. As part of that, Seva is an essential element, and it has that goal. you could say it has that goal, whether or not we practice Kriya Yoga or not practice Kriya Yoga. In the highest sense, we can even think of Kriya Yoga as an act of Seva, because they're all aiming, all true spiritual practice aims toward this goal of overcoming the consciousness of ego, that sense of being bound to this body. Soul identified with body is the definition of ego, and to be able to go beyond this body consciousness, this consciousness that is focused upon what? Me, mine, me, mine, that sense of I am this, I am attached to that, I am this personality. These limitations, we speak about them again and again and again. The practice of learning to overcome them or go beyond them or expand them, transmute that consciousness into something higher is the essence of what the spiritual path is all about. And so Seva has as its foundation this goal, the overcoming of that limited consciousness into something larger. And this has been the tradition that has been passed down to us from ancient times. You read, and we give classes on, and we're all familiar, I'm sure, with the Bhagavad Gita. And if you look at the Bhagavad Gita as scripture, we see that in the first 5, 6, 7 chapters, especially, there is this emphasis on karma yoga. And Seva and karma yoga have many things in common. And you could say, in the highest sense, perhaps they are the same thing. And particularly, there is one essence of what karma yoga embodies, which is the essence also of Seva, which is nishkam karma, action without the desire for the fruits of action, being able to work in this world in a free spirit, making this the essence of everything we do. And as Bara explained a little bit, people have a notion of Seva as something special, something different from what they do on a day-to-day basis, but it's not. Every action is should be, from the spiritual point of view, an expression of Seva, a sense of giving of oneself to something higher, of releasing oneself, of surrendering that ego consciousness, and not into inaction, as the Gita makes very clear, but into action in the highest sense, not attached action, an action of giving to God. And so the question comes up, which we want to explore in these classes, is how do we do that? How is it possible to do that? You could say, and we're going to go into this more deeply in the future class, how do we turn work into service? Isn't that one of the things that we find ourselves, all of us work, I suspect. We work at, even if we don't go perhaps have a salary job, but even at home, we get up each day and I go to work, cooking, cleaning, dressing myself, all of these. In what spirit do we do that? We can do it in the spirit of work, trudging off to the office perhaps, or we can do it in the spirit of service. And this applies to everything we do, because Seva, service, is about not what we are doing. It's not about working hard. It's about the attitude with which we do whatever it is that our duty presents to us. And what is that? It's the next thing that's staring us in the face. Or you could say, people thinking, what's my duty? What's my duty? When they're in the midst of a crisis of having to fulfill whatever the situation is right before them, their duty is to take care of what's in front of them appropriately and in the right spirit. And just as meditation is a technique to help us be able to attune ourselves with the divine, attune ourselves with the divine will, so too taking those attitudes into practical application is what Seva is about. When we teach meditation, sometimes a teacher might forget to mention that meditation does not end when we stand up and go about our daily practices. That's just a transitional period. Ideal is to take that which we have gained from our inward meditation and take that into action. Even if you look at the higher teachings of what Paramahansa Yogananda shared with his disciples, he said, what we all want to do, and then you come away from the autobiography with this desire, I want to experience samadhi. Isn't that true? I know when I read the autobiography, I read that chapter, Experience in Cosmic Consciousness, and I thought, oh my, is that possible? Can we experience that? But Yoganandaji went on to explain that that's just the beginning, really. We learn to experience that state of God union in a deep state, but you might say it's an inward state. The next goal after that is learning to take that consciousness that we gain from our spiritual practices, inward and outward, and then take them so that we're in that state of consciousness in everything we do. We're acting in that state of consciousness. And this is the goal of Seva. Seva itself is an expression of that God consciousness in action. So the question is going to come up, how do we apply? And we'll talk about the attitudes, what Seva is, what Seva is not, how do we embody those, and then how do we apply those to everything that we do? What is it that we need to do? And this, if we can learn these principles, we'll see that everything we do in life is an expression of Seva. Because as I said, Seva is releasing the ego. And obviously, this is for our benefit because we're taking this up. But all of us, I think, have a very innate desire to be useful to other people as well. It's not just for ourselves. And isn't Seva the essence of that as well? I know when we perhaps come on to these, we take up spiritual practices, we're thinking we want to change ourselves. And we have come probably to the realization that we'd like to see this be a better world, but we realize it starts with changing ourselves. But then we come to that certain point where we realize that we need to, it's a natural expression of when we change ourselves, a natural expression to reach out and expand our consciousness to also share and help serve others as well. And to the degree that we can serve others, we, as Swamiji in that reading mentioned, are ennobled. You could say if we just were to keep everything just for ourselves, it's very self-limiting after a time to be able to then share that, but share in the right way. And that's with the right attitudes. That's in the attitude of Nishkam Karma with non-attachment, understanding that Seva is what is useful, what is appropriate. Many people sometimes think, well, just doing anything is Seva. And if it's not in the right attitude, I guess that probably is true. But as long as we're doing Seva, let's also expand our consciousness and our awareness to do something that's also going to be useful for other people. But that said, I want to emphasize that a person praying for other people in the solitude of their meditation room, in their puja room, those prayers have a tremendous effect. And they can sometimes be much more useful than going out and doing something outwardly in an outward way if that outward action is not motivated by the right spirit. You might say it's water off a duck's back. But sincere, deep prayer can sometimes be the most effective thing that we can do. And it too needs to be integrated into our practice of Seva. So let's think of Seva not in terms of simply outward doing good deeds, setting up chairs and promoting a discourse, or sending letters, all which are very, very good in and of themselves, but we must do it in the right way. And of course, that comes back to that story. And I'm going to end with this story and the point it makes, and then give it back to Bara and Shamini. There was a disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, a lady who was a little bit advanced in years, and a dear disciple. And Paramahansa Yogananda mentioned to her one way, he says, you work too hard. And, she was a little bit advanced in years, and she thought, oh, masters, I do need to look after myself a little bit, and maybe I should take it easy, go a little bit slower. And so, but he kept on telling her, no matter what she did, if she cut back, he kept repeating to her, you work too hard. You must not work so hard. And again and again and again. And so she could not seemingly please the master, whether she worked diligently, less diligently, however she worked, until finally, now she was a wise lady, once she came to master, who again said, you're working too hard. And she said, Master, what if we stop using the word work and substitute instead service? And master laughed, chuckled with a big smile. He says, you've caught on at last. All this time you've been work, work, work. And to the degree finally you can convert that into serving, then you'll have the right spirit. And you find that something happens. Yes, you do something useful for others, is true. But when you convert work into service, you find that tension that goes with working turns into a flow. There's relaxation. Work has this implication of drudgery, doesn't it? Carrying a weight on your shoulders. How do we turn that around? How do we make it that something you get up in the morning and you think, oh no, I got to go to work. You wake up in the morning and says, yes, I get to go to work. I get to serve today. And it's all a matter of attitude, how we approach it. I can say that, of course, but then the question is, how do we do that? And I think this is what we want to explore in this class series. So I very much hope that you're going to join us, because it should be a fun exploration. And as part of this, of course, is we'll expound and we'll share some ideas, but we are not the font of all knowledge by any means. We're going to stimulate a conversation, I hope. And I'm going to share, Shamini's going to share, and Bara's going to share. And we hope as we go further into this that we're going to get some feedback from you, and you're going to share too. And we're looking for good ideas, because all of us are faced with the same situation. It's not unique to any of us. How do we approach our work, and how do we approach our duties? Oh my God, and how do we traverse the day-to-day path of being a devotee in a world that sometimes doesn't support that attitude? And you know the question, and we all face it. And so we're going to be looking for your help in this class. And so let's do it together. Let's have fun together. So Bara, Shamini, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Jaya. Always wonderful to listen to you. Now, we are going to do a little introspection exercise and also a song. But before that, as Jaya was speaking, it reminded me the other day with the community we were in one of our chais, we were talking about some writings of Master about friendship. And then one of the things that he said is that friendship should be, I don't remember the exact word, maybe you'll remember, but basically friendship should be useful. You should express your friendship in useful ways. Yeah, that is not just about, oh yeah, of course, I'm a friend to all. That, many times in the spiritual, oh, I'm a friend to all. I love everybody. Well, it should also be expressed in a useful, practical way sometimes. And in a way, that's also another way of seeing service. Yes, I mean, we want to say that we love God. We want to say that Guru is our friend, or even just our family, or just our friends. But are we practicing that one quality of friendship, that is, are we being useful and rendering useful service to other people? And as also I was talking about the autobiography of a yogi, and the emphasis seems to be so much on meditation, Kriya Yoga, which it is. But if you think of the great ones, they were always serving. They didn't say oh, now let's go serve or whatever. But, obviously the saints were serving in a very high way by sharing the teachings or sharing the vibrations. But also Sri Yukteswar was very conscientious. Sometimes he would stay up till very late if he knew a chela was coming, and he would prepare food and make sure that everything was ready. They fed a whole bunch of people in Kolkata. You remember, Master organized all that, and they always find ways to serve humanity more than just through Om Shanti Shanti, just the blessing. Obviously, that's the highest, as Jai said. But if we can, we should really try to do those others as well. And again, in every way that we can. So it's going to be fun, actually, for all of us, I think, to try to see what ways we all can find out to be more useful to the Guru through others as well.
And when Jayaji, you were talking, it's like you put so many amazing practical points, and it was like a checklist. Oh yes, it's true, it's getting out of the way. Oh yes, it is being useful. Oh yes, it is putting energy out. And it's one of those things, this topic of service, and I'm very grateful we're doing this now together, because it's so true. It's like, in a way, Swamiji set the bar so high, where he was just Kriyananda, just bliss through service, bliss through action. And how he reached the point where he could say yoga, he didn't know where Yogananda, where Master begins, Kriyananda ends, or whichever way it was. And that's a very high bar for us who are aiming to serve and try to serve to our best of our ability. But on a day-to-day level, I was thinking, for us to be able to actually reach a point of getting ourselves out of the way, and that reading which Jayaji did, offering our little human self into the greater divine flow. And it is very difficult to actually reach a point of that day to day. If we see, how few times, even if it's our intention, are we able to achieve it? And it's just a nice thing for us to use as checkpoints every day in our, whether it's at home, as we were going to go into with right now, it's very much at home, with our relationships, with our closest friendships, with people in our lives. Are we able to reach that? And there was just this one little example that happened when I was visiting Ananda village. And this was a few years ago. And in Ananda village, where Jayaji is right now, the distances are very much between places. And in India, we are used to taking autos or, getting driven and stuff. So for me, being there and out in the country and, having to walk
up and down
and up the hills, you have to run to the temple, then you have to come back down for lunch, and you have to go back to someone's house. And, it was a lot of and I was late for some event that was happening up in the temple and I was down where lunch was. And so I was thinking, oh no, Master, I hope I can make it in time. I don't want to miss this event. So I just started walking, thinking I'm not going to make it, but let me try. And all of a sudden, this devotee was zooming around in their car and they just drove by and stopped right there next to me and said, hi, would you like a ride? And I was like, yes, actually, I really would. And his answer was so sweet. It just touched my heart and stayed with me, and he was essentially, wonderful, come in. I was just asking Master, I don't have anything to do for like 20 minutes. Is there anyone I can help? Show me how I can serve in some way. And I was just, thank you, Master, thank you to you. But it's just like in those little moments, where, okay, I have a 20-minute break. It's not, I'm going to go and take a nap or something. It's, how can I serve Master, and what Jayaji said, what's in front of me right now? That's another form of service, which we can really try to incorporate, inculcate in our daily lives. And it becomes so enriching in a way. Yeah. And so we had a song which we wanted to share. It's a very simple song. And we were thinking maybe, because we always want to offer every week a specific tool that we can practice for the week. And this is a children's song. Would you like to say something about it? You're the music guy.
It's a children's song strategy. I think most of you probably know it, but really it's a children's song that, as we always say, it may apply more to us big children than to the little children, because we perhaps are able to relate more to the meaning, because we are consciously trying to find God and serve the Guru.
Yeah, so we thought maybe we can keep this song with us through the week as we're tuning into this till we meet next week on Wednesday as well.
Yeah. And then we have another thing after that.
And yeah, then we have an introspection worksheet which we'll guide you through.
So we are just going to sing it a couple times through. It's called Guide Me, Lord. And then you can sing along with us. And we'll send a recording as well later on. Okay, ready, Shamini?
Yes.
Guide me, Lord, throughout this day, in all I do, in all I say. Tell me when I go astray, hold me in thy light. Help me see that happiness comes not with wanting more but less. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light. Guide me, Lord, throughout this day, in all I do, in all I say. Tell me when I go astray, hold me in thy light. Help me see that happiness comes not with wanting more but less. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light.
And now once more, but sing with us.
Yes, I hope you're singing.
I don't see people singing.
Guide me, Lord, throughout this day, in all I do, in all I say. Tell me when I go astray, hold me in thy light. Help me see that happiness comes not with wanting more but less. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light. And you can close your eyes for a moment. And this song is wonderful because it represents one of those prayers of Master that he says the highest. Lord, reveal thyself to me that I may give you to all. So now, as we close our eyes, let's just together do a little bit of introspection. We will not do the whole thing, and we will send you the document so you can do it more fully at home. And this is just for us to start thinking about it a little bit more and try to perhaps see some clues about ourselves. So visualize first yourself at your own house. Shouldn't be very hard because you are probably right now at your own house. But more specifically, a regular day in your house, in your household. And ask yourself, do I tend to help others when I'm at the house? Apart perhaps from what is my duty to do, how willing am I to go a little extra when perhaps your child, your spouse, or in-laws ask you if you could help with something else? Are you usually willing? If you are willing, are you reluctantly willing or really willing? Perhaps this one is more for the men in the house, although I don't want to stereotype, but how willing am I to help with the house chores if I see that help is required, or to give of my own personal time whenever somebody else needs. Perhaps the time I spend, I don't know, watching the news or reading something. And visualize yourself when you are with your friends. And try to see how much do you usually talk and how much do you usually listen. You can think, what is the main thing you speak with your friends or to your friends? You tend to go into just mundane things, news, negative news, gossiping about other people, or you try to always uplift the conversation. Maybe you can ask yourself, what is the quality of friendship that you consider the most important? Now think about your work for a moment and wonder, when you work just for money? Or is there any reason why you really work? Ask yourself, if you were in charge of doing something and it's not appreciated or you're not able to do it as well as you would like, what is your attitude? How do you tend to react? Now think about Guru Seva, and perhaps for this one, ask yourself, how do you know that what you are doing is actually Guru Seva? Be it in the house or be it helping through Ananda. How do you know if you are really doing Guru Seva? What is your definition of that? And perhaps one more for our sadhana, our spiritual practices. Ask yourself, what is the most common prayer that you do? That may tell you a lot about your attitude in meditation. And you can open your eyes. And these are just a few prods for you to start thinking. But more than that, we will send you this sheet and we would like if you can write it down, because some of the things will come in the weeks that we will be going forward, and try to see if you're perhaps something needs to be changed, or if something that we perhaps say resonates with something you were already thinking, and so on and so forth. There's more questions, but we just need a few that may help you get started.
Jayaji.
So yes, so we would like to see if you have any questions or if Jaya wants to say anything else. But also at the end, we'll send you how to register and what is how to move forward with this. So Jay.
Thank you, Bara. Thank you, Shamini. That was lovely. I loved the song, and it resonated for me at the moment. And I think a lot of the things that those questions you asked, they too resonated. It made me think, and I liked the way you phrased it. Think about this. What is my prayer? And so I think those are the types of things that make a class like this very useful, and I think something that we can all relate to. So thank you very much. And to all of you in the audience, I hope to see all of you again next week, and then we can go into this topic a little bit more deeply.
Thank you very much, Jaya. And just to tell everybody, I'm gonna put the link in the chat box, and that's how you can register for the course if you wish. Now, this is a course that is part of the Ananda India online community, and obviously those who are part of the community will always be a part of it, and others are welcome to register. We do ask for a small donation, but if you cannot, for whatever reason, offer this donation, don't worry about it. You let us know, and we would like to include you as well, so you can just be in touch with us. And we really hope to see you all, and we will, in the weeks to come, we will make it more interactive as well, that we all have a chance to talk to each other.
And if you would like to know about the community, on this page right there, there's a little link which says a link to the online community, so you can have a look at what we do in the community and all the offerings. And we have a lot of fun, a lot of interactive sessions. And as Jayaji said, we're going to pick everyone's brains a little and get everyone to interact through this session as well.
Yeah.
And ask Jayaji lots of difficult questions.
Yeah, bring difficult questions, yeah. Because when will the Jaya? So anyway, we got also your email, I think, so we will send you these sheets and the song and other things, so you can start thinking about it and start filling it up. We will leave this session open a little longer in case you want to click on the link. And if anything, I think everybody here probably knows how to contact us. The person who sent you the link to this class, if not, contact them and they will contact us. So thank you, Jayaji, once again. Thank you, everybody. It's been a joy, and we'll see you soon.